Single story. Less risk of use. No, I couldn't do that either.
1928.
She was.
Story and map and finished.
So next.
Yeah, I'm just not.
Like I said,
Something about in 1994.
yeah, that gets old. Yep.
Well, it might have.
Maybe some of them stuff.
I think that's about the time. There's still a lot in there.
Yeah.
You know, it's just,
Hello. How are you?
Thank you, Ray. This is your stuff, though.
Yeah. I mean, know yourself. That's what you want. What's one case?
Potential, there's like one packet that I printed that's like 40 pages. That you just make sure you're making enough pages for us. Yeah, you actually do that.
So you're just doing treatment, kind of hanging out? No. Yeah. That's like I think that's a difficult thing for a teenager to kind of go through. Go through these restrictions where people go all the different directions. In some ways, I think it's super life, though. It seems like it's all kind of the same thing, so it's very aligned.
yeah.
Yep, yep. Yep.
Saturday, chance, and next Tuesday, Wednesday.
We used to live together, way back in the day. Yeah, we both lived in Lawrence. We were working. He was our digital. I know, it's a little early. Guru.
Coldest day of the year, and you shave it off.
You work here?
I guess that's my girl. I can tell the difference.
Okay.
Just give you the express.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's definitely worth it.
Sniper's coming back for snow. New Jersey, closer to the PA side of Jersey, so like in like, if they let me probably Westchester area or something. So, yeah, we'll see. Yeah, just won't have the beaches. The sun.
I don't know why. And actually, say it.
Are you Monday
brother?
night.
Okay.
Three one days.
You have like
Monday
a
night, Wednesday,
So-
I'm out.
It would be like a civil.
Yeah.
Yeah, when they saw that.
Just honk show back here. I broke it last year. Coming in handy now.
Probably, yeah. And recently. Oh, everyone's until they're very wide.
Same.
Oh, too, yeah. Embarrassing myself. Yeah.
You're like 15.
Yeah.
Brain's not fully developed. You're
Yeah.
best.
Oh.
Trying to.
Like, wasn't an athlete, so I took that competitiveness too. So,
I was original in soccer. I played my first year, and then it was just like.
yeah.
She's
Oh, so fun.
okay.
Our dog, Liberty was sitting in
Well, that's paid off.
Yeah.
He's already out.
Oh, there you go. Hi, dog. How are you? Good to see you. Yeah. You have the right
You're fine,
idea.
go ahead.
I might fall asleep if I sit in that chair.
He's done all the same to me. A lot of them do, really. Yeah. Different hours. Then they one night.
Nope.
This, I realize I probably should have.
So 65, right? Yeah, I said, this is gonna be my shortest fall. And I'll have this pushing up. I felt so stupid. I don't have any beer. So these are on automatic, so now I don't even have any questions. Leave it alone. If people need tea, they're cool when they need school.
Vicky said she may or may not be here, Bob is not gonna attend tonight,
So we,
and then,
everybody's gonna be here.
and Delbert has resigned.
What did you know? Well, we can do it. Roll call. Well, we got a quorum, so we don't even need that, do we?
It's not a meeting, so.
I got some thoughts I've been thinking about this since our last meeting. I think we're going about this the wrong way. The commission obviously wants solar in this county. And they have a really good reason. Right now, all that land is being taxed as agricultural, which is low. The amount of money that they would pay the county in lieu of taxes would bring in substantially more money than anything else. This county has already blown 2 chances to help the taxes. One was the power plant. Now, the reason it was passed over is because they didn't want the fluid coming this way, but the prevailing winds bring it this way anyway. B&B sold out to Alamo. Alamo wanted to expand. The city wouldn't let them. They thought they'd stay. They left and expanded to Atlantic, Texas. We all know that the tribe has the intention to buy back all the original reservation. If you drive Highway 75, you know where that is, just outside of Holton. I don't know if you know it. That goes all the way to Burnett's Mountain. These people, they've already bought land adjacent to Burnett's Mountain. Okay? So what we have in front of us here is a document that the commission spent several years putting together, that they're comfortable with. I think we're wasting our time going through this page by page and making small changes, I think we should go to public meetings. We have their comments already. They can follow up with anything more that they think we need to know. And those are the things I think we should consider. And I'll give you an example. We changed this from, let's see. Well, conditional, it was special, we changed it to conditional. Conditional, that which is dependent upon or granted subject to a condition. We're writing the condition. The term that was used was special. This is out of a legal dictionary. Relating to or designating a particular purpose. And that's what this was. That's why they used the term special. The purpose is purely solar, nothing else. Now, I don't care if we change it back to special. I'm simply saying, I'll give this committee every minute it needs to do a proper job, but no more than that. I don't think we need these work sessions. We don't need to go through this and try to change it. Those are my thoughts. Give me my reasons why.
Well, and I think a lot of that is valid, but also the reason that we exist, this planning commission, is to have our input. And I know that I'm not smart enough, I'm not a lawyer, to know, to be able to write these regulations for their litigation proof. I can't do that. But we can put our patronage input into, as members of this county, we can put our input in. And just because that's what the commissioners want, that's why they gave it to us, is that is our job as a planning commission. And that was given to, they gave it to us to do nothing with, do everything with, or scrap it completely. It is our call. They gave us recommendations. So to say that they gave us this document and that's what they want, well, they have to give it to us to let us go through and say, are the setbacks acceptable? Are everything else that's in it? And personally, I've had this thought since the beginning. I just haven't figured out a way to get there. But I've been a part of this for 3 months now. We've had 2 meetings prior to this one tonight. And in one of those was giving special use variance to ag land to put family cemeteries on. The other one was changing the zoning from agriculture to light industrial to put a billboard on. The whole point of this big book that we have is zoning in Jackson County. And I don't feel that the special or conditional use permit is valid in this case. I think that if the land is going to an industrial site, that we need to change the zone. That's just my opinion. I would like someone, and I'm willing to have my mind changed. I have an open mind on this. But I do feel that the whole point of this comprehensive plan in this book is to tell us what we can and can't do with our property. There's things that I can't do on my property because they don't fall under the rules of the book. So that's where I'm at right now. And as I said, I'm willing to be convinced that there's a better way, but that's where I'm at, I guess, right now. And so that's why I say that we need to have our input on this process. If everybody, if I'm in the minority that thinks this needs to have a zoning change, then we move forward as I'm outvoted. But then we'll go through these regulations and try to make it as beneficial to the county, but yet also beneficial to this book and to what Jackson County has stood for years. So I don't know the length of these leases, but in a conditional use permit, we said 30 years, and they say that this project is supposed to last 30 years. Well, if the lease is for 99 years, who's to say in 25 years the company sells the leases to someone else, and then they don't clean it up or they don't tear it down? I mean, that's what these regulations are supposed to make sure things happen. But I don't know enough about the leases to say whether, I had a rock quarry right next to my house, and they signed a 99-year lease, and they operated for about 20. They still haven't settled on the ground and turned it back, because they're still fighting over the reclamation. They have a 99-year lease, and they don't have to pay anything. They can just keep going and going. I'm not gonna get into all the legal stuff about the leases, I don't care. But I just wanna, that's why I think changing the zoning, because then it stays that way, and you can put a term on it that after so many years, it reverts back to A1, if it's reclaimed back to A1. But I'm afraid that if we put a condition of 30 years that this is conditional use permit, and they don't, I mean, why in 30 years wouldn't they put new panels? If the panels were out in 30 years, why wouldn't they put new ones up? They already have everything, the infrastructure in place. So I just wonder that if it will really ever end, even though we put a timeline on the condition. So that's why I would say to switch to make it each property, each parcel, go through a zoning change. Because then the planning commission, if that's why we exist, can go in and say, no, I don't think this one meets the requirements, or this one does, or things like that. We're letting an outside company come in and get special privileges that nobody else in this county gets. I mean, just in the fact that I can't do things on my property that I want to do because they don't fit the regulations. I can apply for a special use, but I just don't feel that it fits in this case.
So actually, our job is to have these. We haven't been doing that because we won't.
Well, the commission tried to give us a head start.
What the commission did was go to the experts. Okay? We spent over 3 years going through it, studying it, lawyers drafted it. So it's in better language than I can put, and I think anybody else on this commission can put. And looking at saving time, if we open this up to public comment, which is what we're going to do the next meeting, and any changes you want to make, you can bring those up at the time we go through it with the public. We don't need to sit here and go through it all over again with the public. Understand what I'm saying?
See,
Seems like duplicious.
me personally, I don't see it that way, because, so, I think we should go through all of it, because if there's changes that we feel should be, because if we don't go through all of it, then really what's the point of this? Because a zoning change comes to us first, right? And we give approval or disapproval, and then ultimately goes to the county commissioners for approval or disapproval, right? Well, if we're not gonna go through the stuff and put our time into it, what's the point of having us just send it to the county commissioners for approval or disapproval? I feel like we wouldn't be doing our job if we didn't go through it and make any changes, listening off the solar feedback forms, or listening to God knows the social media experts that we have in this county that have popped up in the last 3 years. I think there's things that could be changed to make it more favorable to people that are very against it or kind of on the fence about it. But the other thing is, even if we do a special use permit or conditional use permit or a zoning change altogether, these regulations are not and this is me asking more, so I understand. If we approve these regulations, that doesn't mean that the solar panels are going to start going up immediately. Any special use permit or conditional use permit or zoning change will then again have to come in front of us, right? So just because we approve these regulations
Doesn't mean we have to approve any special use permit or zoning change or conditional use permit that then comes in front of us, right?
Correct.
So, me personally, even if we decide, because there may be places where we feel it doesn't fit in the county's comprehensive plan with what the plan is for the county, but there may be places where, you know, it probably could work there. But I feel like having the regulations in place, even if we don't approve a single special use permit or zoning change, isn't a bad thing. At least having something on the books saying, if you're gonna do this, here's the rules for doing it. And then we'll go from there with the permits and the zoning changes that come in front of us. That's how I personally.
I see that, I mean, that's why I said that I tried from the beginning to separate this current project from these regulations, because we're writing these regulations countywide. It's not.
Right, not for NextEra, not for.
If NextEra says we're done, we're not coming here, well, somebody else can come in. But we were forced to write regulations because of the possibility of this project. So we have to write the regulations so that they're, I mean, that's why we're here. I volunteered, and we all did, to come and sit at this table so that we could have a voice in this and in the input. It isn't a glorious job, and it's an unpaid job, so I did it so that I could have some input, and to just take that document and say, okay, this is what you think we should do, here you go. And I mean, the reason we have these sessions is we're, right now, 5 of us that have 5 different opinions. And if we took that and went to a public input, we're gonna have 50 different opinions. And then we're gonna have to sort out how to deal with that. So we're going through, we have the public comment forms that people are supposed to fill out, and that's why we have 10 days grace period, so we can have time to look at it. They fill out the form, we can take that input and use it to our, how we want to go through these. And if this process takes 2 years, I'm okay with that. That's what I signed up for. I'm not about to rush through this. And if this company is saying, we need to get this done so we can get going, I don't care. Well, I want to write these regulations so they're in Jackson County's best interest. And if that pushes the timeline out, and I think from one of the comment forms that we got that was written by one of the company representatives, they signed it that way, they mistakenly referred to us as Douglas County in that form. So they probably have another project going in Douglas County. I'm pretty certain they have one going in Washington County. So we're not the only one that they're talking to. We just have to write these regulations so that they're in the best interest of both sides. I mean, I'm on both sides of this, as far as beneficial to the county, but yet respecting the nature of the ag land in Jackson County. I agree.
You talk about going through it, I've already read it. I assume we all. But don't really need to go back through it. If you have changes that you want to make, and do more amendments, then we ought to do it. Not just go through it page by page.
But that's how we get there, is we go through line by line and say, is everybody okay with this line?
Well, I think that's the reverse. I think it should be saying, what doesn't somebody like? It takes a lot less time. We should know what we don't like about it.
I'm not in a hurry.
Well, I am. That's it, I'll give this, give her better than needs. I'm not gonna sit here and go through this page by page. That's an absolute waste of time. If you have something you don't like, bring it up. If you have something you don't like, bring it up. Let's get to the root of it.
And it's pretty simple, we did that the last time.
Yeah, right.
We went through it and, okay, I don't like this, we're gonna talk about this, and we have a discussion on that. But we can't hop, skip, and jump back and forth, we just have to go down through it.
Suggestion we hop, skip, and jump.
I also think that if we just say, we're not gonna go through it, let's just open it up for public comment, we're gonna get about the same comment 1,000 times over and over. I mean, and I know we'll probably still get that even going through it, but I don't see how that would be productive for us when we have these. We should, personally, as we go through them, then that's a new draft of the regulations, and we put that out for people to kind of look at and see. And if that's in a month, 2 months, then it's in a month, 2 months, and because maybe there'll be some opinions that are swayed a little bit by the new, by things that we add or change, or, I mean, because people have already seen this, and it doesn't seem to, I'm just saying, I think Luke and I are both saying the same thing, that we'd be doing a disservice if we didn't go through the whole thing. Because I haven't gone through the full thing. I'm a plumber raising 3 kids, and I don't have, this is why I come to these, so we can sit down and go through these, because I don't have the time to sit down every day and go through, you know what I mean? And if you do, that's great, but, this is what I thought, or when I thought we were to go through these things, you know? I mean, like I said, I personally feel like we'd be selling short if we didn't go through the whole thing. But,
And I've read through them 3 times, just as they are, and I've also read through, we have 2 different comment forms given to us that encompass the entire thing. And I haven't given that the entire due diligence, but I've read through 36 pages of each of those. And I don't necessarily have the time to do that on my own time either, but that's what I signed up for. I signed up knowing that this was coming, and I'm gonna give it every bit that it needs.
and that's not me saying that I don't.
No,
look at-
I know what you're saying.
Because I mean, my opinion, the solar feedback forms are great, but it's the same thing pretty much repeated over and over for the most part. No. I mean, I don't really, you know, the NextEra guy that sent one, I don't really, I don't really particularly care what they think, because if they, you know, they could call tomorrow and say, we're not doing the project, and move on, but I still think that we should have, that, I don't think if that was the case, we shouldn't stop with regulations, because there's another company behind NextEra, and so on and so forth, there's other companies. But, like I said, if we don't approve a single zoning change, or a special use permit, or conditional use permit, whatever we do, whatever we call it, however we decide to do it, I still think that having the regulations in place is a good thing, just in case it comes along, and we should give them as much attention as what we can. So,
Maybe you haven't read them all, but they're not just yes or no. They're very specific. I've got a key to the sections. So when we have public comment, we want to ask the person to get to that point in these regulations, if they have anything to add to their comments, because there are very few that just yes or no.
But
They're almost all
I
specific.
have my own personal changes that I want to see in that. And that's why we're having these work sessions that aren't open to public comment, because we never get anywhere if we had to listen to every person that will have something to say about this. We signed up, we volunteered to sign up to be on this committee. And that's what I'm giving it, because I have things that I want to see changed in there.
Then let's get to what you want changed.
Right, and I'm starting with the major change. I want to see if conditional or special use or zoning change is with the direction that this board wants to go.
What if you simply made a zoning change, we'd still need these, wouldn't we?
Yes.
I don't understand the difference. What would be the advantage of zoning change?
Well, and I don't know for certain, but say they sign the leases and they get the special use permit, and they have a payment in lieu of taxes. Does that go for 30 years? What if they abandon the project in 5 years? The conditional use permit goes for 30 years, and that ag land is still tied up, but is generating no revenue to the county. And we have zoning regulations. Why are we making a special exception to not change, to bring in an industrial opportunity without changing that zoning to industrial? It's not at that point, ag land.
But if they walk away in 5 years, it's still ag, which they still could
But
use.
so the county lost out on all of that.
We can't stop that. This, B&B, they shut their doors. I don't know if they're still paying taxes or not, if somebody's renting it. But anytime a business is full, yeah, you lose that tax income. Look around the square.
But if we change the zoning, we would still be getting the taxes on the industrial, from I-1 line industrial zoning.
If they folded, they wouldn't pay the taxes. They'd go
But the
bankrupt.
zoning would, the property owner would pay that.
Or you would make a farmer now pay for industrial land?
If they're signing their land up to be industrial, yes, that's what I see.
I think that's a detriment. to the
They're
farmer.
getting paid,
They're not gonna get paid if they close their doors in 5 years. They're gonna be stuck paying enormous taxes on land that's only used for ag.
They can
that's,
always come back and ask to change the
they
zoning.
can, yes.
Well, they wouldn't need to.
That's why I don't agree with the conditional use permit. If you're committing your land to putting it under an industrial power plant or whatever, you call it an industrial, and you're gonna get paid to do so, I don't have a problem with increasing the property taxes on it. If I put up a building on my property taxes go up. If I do anything to improve the value of my property, the taxes go up.
But if you tear that building down, they go back down.
You have to reapply for it. You have to go in and tell them you took that building out.
Okay, and that would then reduce your taxes. It'd be minus.
But it's
7%.
still in an ag facility. This is changing it.
I understand what it's doing. I think it's putting a hell of a burden on the landowner.
So why are we letting the landowner off the hook?
Well, because he won't have the income to pay the taxes.
But if they fold and they go away, he can always come back in and have it rezoned to A1, right?
If the commission agrees with him, he's gonna have to apply for that.
But why are we letting the big company come in and override the comprehensive plan this county put forth?
They're not overriding it, they have, whatever we've.
We're allowing
they
it
have to
through a
live.
conditional use permit instead of changing the zoning. We had to, we had someone have to apply for a zoning change to put a billboard out. They can still farm around the billboard. So why did we need to change it? Why couldn't we just give a special use permit? Why did we need to change the zoning on that 5 acres?
That wasn't part of that.
Yes, you were.
Oh, yeah. okay.
January. So if they're getting paid to change their land, to take it out of ag production and make it industrial, I don't have a problem with changing the zoning, so they're paying more in property taxes. They're not farmers at that point. They're not farming underneath these panels.
They can,
No, they can't.
yeah, they can. I studied, big thing now is sheep.
They can't be 15 feet, over 15 feet tall. In the regulations, the panels can't go over 15. How in the world are you gonna get a tractor underneath that?
Sheep.
Well, what
Most
if,
of
you
these
said
places
last
have
time,
sheep.
what if they don't want to have sheep? What if they don't want to have sheep?
Then they won't have any ag income.
Company.
That's up to the landowner and the company, up to their lease.
Right,
agreement.
but it's
The
not,
farmer-
it's not the same. The land use is not the same. If it's currently a farmed piece of land, and you put all the solar panels on it, you cannot farm it. So it's changing the use value of that land.
There are things you can do
And
with it,
like
such
I
as
said,
sheep.
if the majority of this commission wants to move forward with it under conditional use, I will work that way.
The payment in lieu of taxes, is that based on taxes for A1? Or how do they,
That would be, to me, that would be whatever the county commission and the company work out,
gotcha.
based on whatever.
So,
factors they-
It wouldn't incre, if we did change the zoning, it wouldn't necessarily increase the amount, because if the taxes are more on industrial than they are A1, would it increase the amount of payment in lieu of taxes if it was zoned industrial instead of still A1.
That would get the county commission, I would think, as part of that pilot.
Yeah.
Maybe we would have to do it. Another article, right, go with this maybe. If I think you made, in your initial opening statement, I think you made some very important, valid points that this body needs to think about.
I have one comment. Our original zoning regulations, Article 30 was for wind only. So Article 30 is a zoning district, right? It's an overlay district. So when I talked to you the last meeting, it's like we would, you guys would maybe want to look at Article 30 as the zoning overlay district. And then in those districts, you have special uses. We don't have any conditional uses yet, but for conditional uses with something large like solar or wind or any other renewable thing, you have certain conditions on it. That we do have definitions now in our regulations specifying special versus conditional. But Article 30 is set up as a zoning district.
Can you point me to that? I have trying to navigate this sometimes.
It's page 102.
Okay, huh?
102.
So obviously, Article 30 needs some major attention because it's just referring to essentially personal wind turbines and a special use for larger projects. So when all of this arose, that was the only thing that we had in our regulations, and it didn't obviously have solar, but that would naturally be a place to start or put renewables in regulations. And what I referred to last work session too is doing an addendum specifically for the conditional or special or whatever that you were wanting to do on solar. And if there's anything else that comes along that you guys would have to do, it would fit into the regulations without having to rework a whole bunch of this. on the spots where it says special to conditional. So that's where we left off.
Right, in section 3, standards for approval. You have the one that you updated, it says stopping point and
I didn't get that one, so.
oh,
I have it, I just didn't print it off. Because I have my notes on it.
Yeah, who needs one?
I can sign it.
do you need one first? You want to print out? Dick, you need one? You need a copy of the,
I got it.
okay.
You said it out. Mine's in my book.
Well, is anything in that changed from where we were, or did that all change what we ever talked about?
What Kate and her staff has done is incorporate the suggestions from last meeting.
Which was essentially, yes,
Into
everything,
what
yeah.
Right.
Everything you brought up last time was in here.
Right. Well, we're having one over at other than terminology, crazy.
I don't think they made any changes beyond where
Right,
it
that's
says
what I'm
stop.
saying.
so it's one
From what I have, from that point forward, it's going to be the same.
Except conditional use.
Right, which is why I didn't,
Yeah, exactly, so what was changed through. Striking out the word special use permit and changing that to a conditional use permit.
and I guess I don't know whether to take a vote on it or what. I mean, is that the consensus that we're going to continue forward on the conditional, or? Just, I want to know.
Well, there's some questions. Okay, page 2, 13A, acre amount. Okay, so it's not complete. I don't think we should pass it with that in, like that. If somebody wants to put an acreage amount in it, then we should do that. Right? Page 2, section 13A, the last line, acre amount.
And that's specifically referring to personal accessory solar entities.
But the question was, should we put an acreage amount in this?
Right, that,
Either put one in or take that part out, that's what I'm saying. Let's not pass this, but that is the question.
no.
That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, just for everyone's benefit, that refers specifically to, a personal or a farm system with a farmer or a landowner, something with the county. But it's not a corporation.
And as the next paragraph covers, the 20 contiguous acres.
But that's a limited scale.
Different class.
Right.
Does somebody have an acreage amount, or you want to take that out? Gotta be one or the other.
Well, there are, help me, what the acreage amount is, what is it talking about? Project area, project extent?
No, you brought it up, this is your comment, okay? I think you were saying maybe we should put in what the amount of acreage is that we're gonna allow.
Right.
10 acres, 20 acres, 40 acres,
And at that time, that's covered later in the regulations.
and then we need strike it, right? That's already covered. Those two words should come out.
Well, and I guess some of, maybe what I'm saying is conversation, not verbatim change. I mean, I was maybe asking the question. I didn't realize that it was written in there.
Oh, then you're saying this should be struck out.
That's fine.
Okay.
I'm saying that we need to put an acreage amount on it, but later on in this draft, it addresses acreage amounts.
Okay. Then we don't need it.
Okay.
Take that out.
I would concur with taking that out, partly for the reason,
But is that, sorry, only listed under the personal or accessory?
no, it's also, there's also a question about C.
Which I'm,
Right, well, those are really different. The personal is, that limitation is going to be driven by the statement right before it, which says electricity created is for consumption on site by that family or farmer, and not for transfer or sale or sale to a third party. So that's gonna limit the size of the number of acres, because they can't generate more than they would typically use.
I mean, in my opinion, the limited scale plans are very feasible, and that's what I can see.
So that needs to come out too.
No, I say leave the 20 acres on a limited scale, because you get beyond that.
I thought he was talking about C, the last line in C.
He's going back to the,
Go ahead.
Keep 20 in under
Yes.
B, the limited scale.
Right, and in the personal, I
Other
don't,
than this.
We're gonna take this out right here.
So you want to add,
if you don't want to have an acre amount, that was a question I was just asking.
but you said it's already covered someplace else.
Not on the personal, it's not, on the commercial. The rest of these regulations only address commercial. I said in the beginning that we need to write them also with limited in mind, so that we can allow or encourage limited scale. But nowhere in the remainder of this draft does it address personal, because those are covered under your zoning. You don't have to have a zoning change to do a personal, or you don't have to have a special use permit or anything. It's allowed under.
Right, we're not putting that there, we're putting that up, that's what's allowed.
That would be like personal, yeah.
Under that article 30.
Yes. So I don't think we're really worried about writing regulations for private, personal solar panels. We're writing them for limited scale commercial. And I just wanted to, write the regulations so that limited scale is covered as well.
I would say, working with these regulations a lot, more information is better. So if you can define
And in that regard, if you're saying you can't sell it, my panels that I have are designed for a single-family residence. It's an 8 kilowatt system, it generates about 6, and it's not designed to overproduce. I use enough electricity that it never overproduces. But if I wanted to put up a second set, another 22 panels, then I could overproduce, and I could put that back on the REA grid, because I'm hooked to ground axis. So I could sell that back through that net metering that they're talking about.
So net metering, that 13A does include net metering, so when whatever your system is, produces more than you're using at that moment, but you are, under these regulations, allowed as a landowner to sell that farm back to the power grid,
Right.
and then you buy it back
Right.
when you're running short.
But what you said a little bit ago was that you weren't going, you didn't want to, it was only for your personal consumption, not for sale.
Not so
Let me
many
clarify, yeah, but not as a for-profit type energy
Right.
generating
Right.
enterprise,
It's
just kind of move
Then you
that.
would move to a limited scale.
Right, yeah, this is just movement of electricity
So,
back
I
and
mean,
forth
you could-
between that one landowner.
Right.
and power company.
What it says is not transferred or sale to a third party.
Except for the allowance of net metering, which is the back and forth transfer of power and between.
So do we want an acreage or not, just move on? And if somebody has an acreage, let's get it done.
What that would be, depending on the size of the
Right.
operation, and how
I
much
don't-
power they use. You have to, farming has a, an animal confinement building or something. So use electricity storage or movement of their system.
I think after a certain amount, then it would have to move into the limited scale regulations, and they would have to follow other parts of this thing. So by that token, yes, you'd have to put, if it's over a quarter of an acre or half an acre, then it would move to the limited scale. Because if there is no, then I could say, I want to put up 15 systems, and that's my personal, like you said, more information is better.
So if we just, the limited, it says 20, if we just halved it for the personal, it says no more than 10 acres, pretty big. Well,
I mean, I would say less than, it's gonna be less than an acre.
Okay,
I mean,
so,
max it out at an acre.
okay.
I'm thinking that's too low. We don't know the power needs of all our farms, for example.
But then it would move to a limited scale. They'd still be allowed to do it.
Right, but that's.
And the personal doesn't necessarily mean that it's a farmer putting up something with
Have to be a
3 acres to put.
someone on, someone on three.
The personal is designed to run your house, accessory. Beyond that, if you get too much bigger, you move to the limited scale, and then you're set under these requirements of setbacks, heights, different things. Because if you get beyond an acre in solar panels, it's not personal or accessory, you're selling that. Or you're putting them on the roof of the building. I think we're talking ground mounts, more than likely.
That would be my thought as well, around this, not rooftop systems. I just don't know the power needs of our farms in the county or the farmers that may want to add some additional facilities for animals or other operations on the site. I'm concerned about making that number of acreage, number of maximum acres, under personal too small. But I don't have a good feel for if those were shown line, they should be at 10 acres.
But is there not the possibility to move to a limited scale after that?
If they meet a whole lot of additional requirements,
Right.
do you want to put those on a farm? To run to power his operation? it's just.
If it's,
Yeah, so dairy farm would take a lot more than road price.
right,
I don't know how much, because you use a lot of electricity in dairy.
and that's why we're having this discussion, so that we can write these regulations so that, and yeah, I don't mean, I just think that before you know, when it gets too big, that's not personal accessory sold. But, I don't know. Take the acre amount out, that's fine.
Well, it's either take it out or put it in, one or the other. With your original suggestion, so I suggest either give us an acreage amount or big take it.
How do you, I mean, is the sale, if you're selling back to the grid, is that public? Or, I mean, you know what I mean, like, how do you know if somebody is or not? It would be my question, like,
You really don't, because it's all through my meter.
right,
My meter turns backwards,
right.
and then it goes back forward. It's going forward more than it's going backwards. But that's where, in a limited scale, you're designing that system to
Specifically
over-generate.
sell back.
And the personal or accessory, yes, you're designing it for your use, and you have a dairy. You could put a kilowatt limit on it, to where after so many kilowatts, that it moves to a limited scale. Or, I don't know.
And somebody has to monitor.
You guys know I've got panels. I had to get a building permit to put them up.
Do you know how many kilowatts your,
Acres.
That wouldn't tell the county how much you're selling, and how much you're using yourself.
But it needs size.
So you're going to assume someone is selling because of the size.
If it gets over a certain point, then I don't know.
You never get back to what is necessary usage of electricity on that particular farm, or whatever we're doing.
Kate, I understand it's easier for the office to monitor it, because a second of that, because you do run check and people would apply. This amount of space.
Footprint wise, yeah, but kilowatt, I mean, that kind of makes sense too.
Let's do something.
They kind of hold. I'm here to get it right.
Well, make a suggestion,
We're thinking it through it and talking it through it.
beating it to death.
That's what it takes.
I'm not, that's what it is. I think we should come here with ideas and what we want. And then make that suggestion, and we can discuss whether or not that's the rest of us.
That's what we're doing. We're discussing what we want. What size do we
No,
want?
we haven't gotten what we want yet. We haven't gotten an acreage or kilowatt. We still don't know what we want to fill in with.
Because we're talking about it. Put what you want in, Dick.
I don't want this. I don't. I
Then
just-
take it out.
What you want, take it out. It's up to you. This is your suggestion.
Can't do this tonight, but should we do a little bit of investigation, as far as, the range of farm, uses? We're looking for places around the state just to give us some, educate us, to give us if we're gonna put a number on it. I think it needs to be a thought out number, not just something we'll pull out of our heads with not enough information. So that would be one option. That would be, obviously, moving on to the next topic tonight.
I mean,
That'd be another choice.
the purpose, most of the purpose of these regulations is for commercial. So we don't need to spend too much energy on.
This is why my suggestion was that we come with specific, as they did with the comments, come with specific language that we want, rather than sit here and try to come up with something. That's a waste of time. That's why we need to do a homework. I want something changed.
But I can't just go in and say that this is what I want, and the rest of you are all going to agree with it. You may have a different number.
We have a starting point.
Yeah.
Okay, we don't have a starting point.
I asked the question, do we need it? And if everybody's saying no, move on.
What if we don't have a personal, what if it's just, you're either a limited scale or you're a commercial? Because if you've got to apply for a building permit for it anyway, you know what, like, what's it matter? Then we've got a number of 20 acres, you can't exceed this. If you don't sell back to the grid, great. If you sell back to the grid, great, you're covered under the limited scale. What if it didn't call out, or, you know, the personal fell under the limited scale? Then we have a acreage, we're covered with that. You
Or
can,
we're going to put setback requirements and
Well-
visibility things on limited scale.
So, reference from other counties, limited scale is 1 to 20. Johnson County is 1 to 10. Let's see, what others here. So,
Under
1
1
acre,
acre
under an acre.
is personal.
I guess that's easier to nail down.
So you want to put solar energy conversion systems that are used for personal or individual residential use or accessory to other uses not to exceed 1 acre. That works? That 20 acres is already agreed on. Then there was a question here, we want to add acreage to C, page 3.
So, I personally think that 1 CS, ECS in the county, and that's it. So there's not 1 in the south corner, 1 in the north corner, so on and so forth. That's, and the cap of 2,000 acres in the county, and that's it. Like, I mean, I think, personally, I think there's places where this could fit in the county, but I don't want to see it take over the county by any means. So, to me, this is one that there needs to be a cap on it.
And I kind of have a similar idea, thought of making the 1 CSECS, the project extent, limited to 1,500 acres, which would, the area can only encompass 70% of the extent, but then making it like there could be 3 CSECSs allowed. So that if you had one in the western side and one on the northern side, that would allow.
But you're saying a smaller
Yeah,
acreage.
a smaller lead footprint in one area, but you allow up to 3 of them. And it also says in there at one point that they can't be more than 2 miles apart, or closer than 2 miles.
So, I mean, I like that of the allowing more than 1 but a smaller acreage. I personally want to problem that. I just don't wanna see it, I for sure, you know, think we need a cap on this is how many there are, so it doesn't go against what, you know, we have in comprehensive plan for the county. And it's also in comprehensive plan, we wanna be beneficial to the county, so I think we need a number for a mix of both.
And that also allows for more limited scales. I mean, that's what I envision, there's more of the 20 acres as opposed to the 1,000 acres that takes up half of the township. Any other thoughts on that?
So by limiting the acreage, we're reducing the amount of compensation we can take.
Is this all about money? Or is this about the protection of
It's
the,
my overriding concern.
well, mine is the protection of the
Because
natural resources.
if the tribe continues, as they have been, taking land and putting in trusts, we're not going to be able to maintain this area.
There's also some federal things that are coming through that may offset some of that.
White Trump's cutting back, we'll get into the law.
I think what Luke's means is the commissioners are working to try to get some of that money back with some lobbyists and things like that.
I know what they're doing,
Well, since
it's not gonna pay off.
Since you bring that up, I mean, I do think it needs to be said that we can put these regulations in all we want. And that doesn't mean the tribe can't put in a solar farm 3 times the size of anything we say to go in, and we have no,
That's a bigger gamble for industry, because we're going to come under our laws. It's what the tribe's doing.
that's what I'm saying, but we would have no say in it.
And realistically, the company wouldn't have to say either, they'd have to do whatever the tribe wants.
Yeah, I mean,
That's dangerous.
but it
I
could
mean,
happen, it could happen is what I'm saying.
Well,
Just
it
like
happens.
we have regulations against wind turbines. They can put up as many wind turbines as what they want.
Sure can.
So I just think that's something that like really needs to
Same acre.
Right, right. So, that's what we put that.
That's why we're looking at this, because the county wants to do it.
But it's our job
I understand.
to protect what's in that.
Yeah, I'm not looking at the counties, I'm looking for the benefit of the county. But that's why I'm here, I'm not here as a representative of the county. I'm here as a patron of the county. That's why I signed up for this. I wasn't elected for this. I volunteered to have a say.
I mean, I think finding the middle ground between what's beneficial to the county and also keeping the county in the way that people want it kept is what we should ultimately do. Because I mean, and it's all, you know, and that goes to the people that want to put the solar panels. They should, you know, as long as it also fits into the regulations of what we want from the county, they should also have the right to do it. But it should go under, you know,
Well, I personally think what the people of the county want is reasonable wages for the employees, good roads, things that take money. And either the county either has it or it doesn't. This is one way to get it. I don't think we can put that behind us.
And I don't disagree, but I want to do it on my terms.
so I like the 3 at a max of 1,500 acres each.
In the project extent.
Right, right. In that, the 7.
So the area will only be 7%.
Right. Yeah, the total project extent for the CSS.
Is there a disagreement to that?
I don't know.
Two other people on here that I'm asking their opinion.
I'm trying to find the definition of project
Is on
extent.
8C. Well, the definition would be for the extent lands contained in the site project area by a single operator. Like about the land ownership or lease of parcels.
Do you have a way you think it should be worded, Dick, or,
I think it's the, I think it's what it is.
but doesn't that kind of leave it open-ended and?
They have the condition when they're not going on. I understand the concern about the citizens as a whole. The landowners will make a whole lot more money leasing for solar. And he is raising capital. Substantially. We're hindering the landowner, what, individual landowner. And we use, get the best use of this complex.
But as a egg producer myself, something to think about is that that person will then take that income and go buy or rent other things. So it increases the competition for everyone else. And I don't have any idea, but I've heard some numbers of what these leases are going to pay. Well, it's enough that they'll pay the land off in 5 years, or, pay for the value of it. Well, they'll just go buy more land. And that increases the competition that I have. Not that that's what's driving this at all, but it's something I do think about. If they came and knocked on my door, that's a hard number to turn down. But we're trying to do this where it's in the best interest of the county, but also the best interest of the non-participating landowner. The majority of this scope that's already here, I don't have exact numbers, but the majority of them are not county residents or do not live in the township of the land that's in there.
So that's what you consider.
Yes, the land is,
Like,
the
well,
land
that's
is
correct.
part of it, that's part of it. There's 4,000 acres from what, and like I said, I'm trying to divorce myself from this project based versus these, but there's 4,000 acres signed up in Adrian, or Grant Township. There's 3,700 acres signed up in Adrian Township, and somewhere under 3,000 acres signed up in Washington, or Lincoln West. So it's 9,000 total acres are signed up, but they're only looking at 5,000 for this project. Now, those are just numbers that I've heard, I don't like. I have to concern myself with this project in order to write the regulations, because that's why we're writing the regulations. But it's also going back to the comprehensive plan and protecting, equities. So I want to do this so that it makes it possible for it to happen, so the county can get some benefit, and the landowners can get some benefit, but it may not just take out the whole county.
I don't see a difference between 1,500 and 2,000 acres. I don't know why we're going to limit it to 1,500 acres rather than 2. Other than personal choice, and again, this isn't given to us with extended studies. That's why unless there's a good reason to change things, I'd rather stick with what the commission is comfortable with, because they've done their homework. And I haven't heard a good reason to cut it down to 1,500. I haven't heard a good reason to cut it down to 3 sites. It's just personal views.
That's why we're here.
No, I think we're here to do what's best for the county. That's not to impose our own personal views. Part of your own financial consideration, acknowledge it. That's not really part of our job. We're here to look after the county, not our own selves.
It's not what I was told.
We're told you're here to look after yourself,
No, to take this comprehensive plan and put it for the best use.
for the county. Not our own individuals.
And the landowners of the county. And there are some non-participating landowners that might need some protection as well.
Well, I mean, I personally think that limiting a number is also protecting the county at the same time, because I mean, you know, it's pretty clear in that comprehensive plan that this is an agricultural county, and that's what we want to see it kept at. But like I said earlier, I also think that there's a middle ground between everybody can benefit from this.
Well, I think the county also recognizes that you need some industry for the tax base. That's why we have an industrial farm out, trying to attract industry to this county for the tax base.
Where would you put it? It is the problem. The industrial park's full. You don't have the infrastructure in this county to do.
That's part of the problem. They're still spending money trying to bring industry here.
I mean, yeah, you gotta try, I mean, but
Not realistic for our tax base.
so we're gonna move on for this now, or for the side of the seat?
Yeah, I'm not comfortable saying 1,500 acres each until that should, that's the stuff. What number makes it viable for them to even put the thing in? Is that a number they? Either take it out or move on for now.
That's several pages to the next page. Page 4.
Some stuff we actually got from Brett.
Hmm?
That's That would actually change, right?
No, you're talking about study in RCS, study in RCS, and actually added those.
That's what we had.
Yeah, I think that's what we had.
They're not been added?
There needed to be a study along, or, you know, they needed to have a study in hand.
We're requiring a study to be done prior to acceptance of the.
You have to put that language in, you just put the study on.
Study required.
Study required.
Should be a study on the impact on wildlife, right? What you want? Let's get the language. Let's not just sit here and look at this stuff. Let's get the language we want in here. Is that what you want? A study on the impact?
Yeah, I mean, that's what we said the last
That's not
meeting.
what's in here. You read it, that's not what's in here. All it is a parentheses study.
I think that's why the word study was intended to read in the last meeting.
Yeah.
Is that
Were you planning on
That's
taking
not
on
finished.
notes and kind of rewriting everything? Is that what you're?
This was.
How's somebody reading this trying to comply supposed to know what that means?
There was notes that we were taking as we went through these, that we wanted to require a study.
Well, that's my point.
Let's get the language.
Yes, that's my, do you want a study on impact? That's what you want to put in there.
Yes.
Okay. A study on the impact of the rest of this. And the next, I don't know what NRCS is.
Natural Resources Conservation Service.
Okay, so you want to say a study done by the Natural Resources.
What, I think we said in the last meeting that they needed to have something from the NRCS, that they had been in contact, they had looked at it.
I know that, I know what we said. I'm trying to get the language that you want to put in instead of this. I'm tired of I'm tired of this. You want to make the recommendations so that we can pass it, do it. I'm tired of doing it for you.
Dick, I don't think anybody's asking to do it for us.
Well, then do it.
I was under the understanding that we were talking about this, these are things we were putting in, and then there was gonna be another draft written with that stuff.
Somebody has to write the draft. That's our job.
I think those notes were, hey, this is what we're thinking that we're gonna need. Right? This isn't the draft itself, that was just a, hey, you guys were thinking about a study as needed on that. That was the discussion.
Right.
That's why I put in there study, because you were contemplating that.
And that's why I see this as, I mean, as a total reprint, every time we have a work session, if we have a total reprint of this, that's not what I was anticipating. I was anticipating, this process is, it's gonna take a while. And if you're here to just rush it through, we're gonna be battling button heads all the time.
I'm not trying to rush it through. I'm simply saying if you want an amendment made, you should have the amendment. Make the amendment, like I just did. Okay? I'm not gonna do it all.
No one is asking you to do it.
Then whoever wants to change should make the motion.
We selected you as chairman to run the meeting, not to do everything for us.
Okay? But somebody has to do it. Somebody has to put in the language you want to ultimately pass, right?
Yes.
Okay, so who's gonna do that?
They're writing, we're talking about it, and they're doing it. Are you not following along?
Yeah, I am. I'm the one that made the study.
Right, and she wrote it down.
Right, so what's she gonna write down on the next one?
When we get it figured out, that's what we'll do.
When somebody got it figured out, please tell me.
say is consult with NRCS after the,
What were before? Consult with the NRCS about preservation or on preservation of
sounds fine.
so on and so forth.
What's the proposed language?
Consult with NRCS.
Concerning
Concerning
preservation of prime agricultural soils.
And the applicants can say they did that. They will comply.
They have to provide us with that
Yeah.
study.
I'd say that.
Yeah, definitely need to work, we need that in written. Something
You
like that.
asking for a report. Report from NRCS regarding preservation. Is that what you want?
Yeah, that sounds good. So, Kate,
Regarding, I'm trying to listen to three people at once.
yeah,
That's gonna get confusing. Okay, so consult with NRCS.
No, a report from NRCS concerning the preservation of agricultural. So E essentially would be the same thing.
Going back to B, sorry to jump back. I think we had talked about having wildlife parks be, so we should probably put in there KDWB, or, you know, and have it worded the same, a report from KDWB on the impact of wildlife.
Do we need to dictate, from what it, I'm just gonna ask, do we need to dictate from what it is? I mean, obviously, we want them to be reputable, reputable sources, obviously, and then our CS are reputable agencies. Do we actually want to say, we can do that.
right, who we want to be.
Yeah,
Right, I'm just asking.
I don't know who else you would,
Yeah,
you know,
So you could take that, go to B and say, a report from KDWP concerning the impact, so you could make that all the same. side do they want?
We can put JaCo road bridge / civil engineer.
Yeah, that's where we stopped. I'm just trying to, the pages changed.
Yeah, because it switched from the resolution to an addendum.
Right, and that's what I'm trying to figure out in my mind.
We're at section 3.
Since they can get, by simply applying and get extensions and not knowing how long it might take to make the modifications, I'm assuming, again, the commissioners thought 5 years was an appropriate amount to bring about whatever need and changes needed to be made. And I don't know what that relates to. I suppose, you know, let's say they have let's say something damaged those. I don't know how long it would take them to get the panels to replace, you know what I mean? I don't know if one year is too short or 5 years is too long. I don't have enough information to make an intelligent decision. Right? That's why my point being, unless we have a valid reason to change something, I think the assumption that this was a good number should stand. Without simply arbitrarily saying, no, let's make it more.
But that's, in the last week, that's what we talked about was, if it was something where, you know, there was something that, yeah, they have, that are grading up to these standards, but there's a big ditch forming over here, or something like that, or it gives them, you need to get it fixed now, and I think what we had said was, well, Bob's words were, nothing should take 5 years. So I think that's why we had said, cut it down to 1, but then let them apply for more if it's something like what you're saying, you know, where they need to.
I was okay with the response.
By any means, or everybody still works through it, but kind of, the next point that I had contention with or a question about was in 3, location of property, the 1 mile of the city limits. That's just something that I want to discuss. If everybody's okay with that, then that's how it is.
So what are your thoughts on it?
That's just a highlight that I wanted to.
You're okay with 1 mile is what or do you think it should be more?
It depends on what city. The likelihood of Denison expanding half a mile, probably not great. The likelihood of Holton expanding half a mile, maybe. So,
So you put population,
I don't know. And I don't have a recommendation, it was just, I just wanted a discussion.
To that point, it might not be population based, it might be location based. So, for example, communities along 75 may have a different distance, are they what you're?
No, I think that's,
We're looking for 4 of them.
and that goes back to the zoning plans of the corridor. You know, where do you want to isolate development is along the 75 corridor. So you could extend that out in the cities that are in that corridor maybe, but. That's just the only thing I have on that page to talk about, so.
Only fix, request for language, ask for report. There's one on three heading groups, 6 on the line. Just throwing this out for a session. If we, hold the number of this was NB forward, those communities looking at long term. Well, five would be number of state and because, use long term monitors 2 miles is required. I was just over more concerned with the C6.
So
Which part of it is the county's interest in focusing development along that corridor.
So if we said within 1 mile of city limits of any city not located along the 75 corridor, and within 2 miles of any city located within the 75 corridor.
That is possible.
What it is, I've never listened to it. It's in my Bible.
They're not mine. They're not mine. They're just leasing.
Is that language? You would mention the other section after that.
That was the one that had all the page. The only topic on that page. Well, that's the only page. 6 on the new one. My notes are on the old. My next notes are on the sizes.
Asian.
That'll be 7 on the new one, 3 number 4 in A and B, or I also have under F in the previous one, I guess. And we've talked about it. Minimizing the impact of environmental and historic system areas. And that goes back to the study on NRCS about protecting Flint Hills ecosystem. I personally would like to make unimproved rangeland, which has never been improved in Ellen. That's just my personal. I think that would also be the thoughts of the NRCS. How much do we, how much do we want? I don't have a problem if somebody wants to put panels on some farmland or drone pasture or whatever, it's been approved. But I just, once we take out the native Flint Hills ecosystem, we can't replace it, we can't put it back.
Ambulance,
I think quite a bit. On the western side of Jackson County is the eastern edge of the Kansas lines. There's a sign out on 16 highway, so they evidently feel, state evidently feels that we're part of it. That comes clear to E, or to G road.
So you just thinking, and I know we're not right, based off the project that's in the county right now, but like limestone would be a big part of that, right? So what would be less impactful? Because if we put that in there, and then somebody like, say the owners of Limestone Springs, who wouldn't have a problem dropping a plow right into the middle of it and saying, well, now it's farm ground.
If it was classified through NRCS as improved soils. That's why I say it goes back to that study with NRCS. If they classify it as unimproved soils.
But that's what, so what I'm saying is,
I think it's right to farm.
right, they say, we say, well, we don't want it in that because it's that,
Right.
then they drop chisel in it.
But if if it's still classified in that study, so that wouldn't matter.
Well, they'll anticipate that the
Possibly.
study would do that. That's what's
Possibly.
going to what he said is realistic.
But yes, it is realistic. But do we still want to put that protection? I want to put that protection in place.
You'd like to at least see the verbiage.
Yeah. I mean, it's their land, they want to do that.
Right.
And it happens all the time. People buy a piece of ground and tear it out.
Right.
I hate to see it. But we're talking we're talking a different thing. We're allowing an outside company to come in and tear up an ecosystem. So yeah, if the landowner wants to do it,
So what I was asking is what's more, or what's, is it more harmful in the long run for them, somebody to say, well, let's rip it up, and then say, well, that's farm ground now? Or is you think the long-term footprint of the solar project would be?
I don't really know.
I personally don't think we should put more restrictions. That's all we're doing. Just putting the landowner in a position where he or she has to decide whether they would want to not be able to lease their land or put their land in condition that it can be leased. That's all we're doing. J6, as we were talking, you know what they're doing.
And that's fine, but this whole comprehensive plan is restrictions on private land.
Reasonable. But all we're really doing is putting another burden on the land.
ranch, so he's got a farm, he's a ranch. This body doesn't have anything really to do with that decision on the part. So for us to then say, okay, you rancher can do this if you want, but then some other land, entity can't do the same thing with that land. And that's what we, so we want that, there's a county on it. So you can do this, you over here can't do the same thing.
Understood.
But it's an understandable concern.
So, what if we went back to section 2, where we put in all the studies, and under D, where it says impact on cultural, historical, or agricultural features, all the hills would be part of the historical feature. I mean, this is, you know, this is the part where it says here's what we're gonna be looking at. If you put something on there about limiting the impact on,
Well, and that also goes to, I mean, if you can't do that, that goes back to my point of making a zoning change. But then we would have, the planning commission would have the ability to look at each individual parcel, and we'd have an opportunity to vote on whether we chose to allow that.
we'd still have the special use permit or conditional use permit.
It's gonna cover the entire project. We're not gonna have an individual say.
But each special use permit will have to come in front of us for.
Right, but that's the entire project, the 2,000 acres. But if you change the zoning on each individual property, we would have the opportunity to look at each individual property and say, no, I want it.
For each permit.
I would have that opportunity to vote yes or no.
I see what you're saying.
Because we have openings on this planning commission. There's a stack of applications right there. If anybody wants to have a say in this, they can sure get on this, and that's why I got on this. Number 4A.
I've also added lines in, so that's shifted.
And this is where I said back in the beginning, we talk about these things later on. Is where we talk about putting an acre limit on it, but it's covered later on. I would like to see a limit on the number of commercial systems in the county. In order to preserve Jackson County as an ag county, I don't want to see it turned into the entire county. If we don't put a limit on it, over the next 100 years, it can keep growing and growing and growing. We have the opportunity now to say yes or no.
I would also like to see a set number on, if it's the 2,000 acres, it's the 2,000 acres, but for sure a set number on. This is how many there
If
are.
we put in that the county's limited to 3, and this project goes in, that means there's not going to be another project. In order to protect Jackson County as an agricultural county, we have to put a limit on the number of industrial farms that can do this. That's the whole point of this zoning and comprehensive plan. Otherwise, we just throw the book in the trash and not worry about it. See that end, it's close to 9 o'clock. I suggest we stop there, and that way we can gather our thoughts and come back the next time and move forward from there.
Sounds good to me. So, is there any thought, number we want to limit the number of solar companies that come in?
The number of CSECS projects. We've decided that each project will be limited to 2,000 acres. Do we want to limit how many of those will be?
Trying to think ahead 100 years is a tough thing to do.
Yeah.
People are always going to have to eat.
And that's my concern, is that they don't make any more land.
I understand. And I personally think that we're headed toward nuclear rather than solar.
And it
They claim that,
takes a smaller footprint.
oh yeah, what, they say that the unit that power the submarine will power a town of 40,000.
And go back to
So if
something
you think
that,
about that,
that the amount of acreage that Jeffrey takes out, the land around it is still hay. I mean, it didn't affect,
and they're putting 3 Mile Island down here.
so
Supply Amazon with power.
there's two sides to this argument of whether we believe that solar is the answer or not.
It's
I
not
do
the
believe that it's solar,
answer.
but it takes up such a large,
I don't think it's.
I would, every feedlot in the state is putting up shade structure. Why not put solar panels over the feedlots and make the shade in, double generation? Why are we taking up time next door? But that's,
The library should be limited. So now we have an option.
well, let's talk about it the next time.
We'll talk about it if you want.
Well, I mean,
I think we've all agreed.
we gotta get a stopping point somewhere. And Bob may be here the next time, and or we may have some new people join. We can't have that.
Yeah, I was fine. Well, there's a big article, 3 miles, not one.
The only thing is that this passes 2 miles outside.
Declare.
And this project notwithstanding,
That would be fine, that would, we would have.
I want to-
Now we try that.
John,
Yeah, that's what I.
Yeah, I used to do this all the time. My friends are.
Everyone voted in.
It was nice to meet you. Are you doing your calls too? Or just kind of? Yeah. Cool.
My first meeting in Washington.
Oh, really?
I knew it was gonna happen.
Out there?
No, that's
Is that
in
the-
town. My first one out there, 10 years ago,
Oh, that's where I work, as you can see.
we're moving.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. I have a few other
That's all I want to get the whole.
This was closest. Yeah. The traffic line is here. They used like in a different state, so we have to fly this like.
Well, that's where I studied. We're required.
Oh, nice. Where you
I gotta go, guys. No, nice to meet you both.
Big old butt.
Oh, yeah, I was in
Yeah.
I mean,
Yep. Have a good night. You too.
next time I'll.
Do, because I would.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
I'd be wondering.
Great squad, shall we?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's do it.
Hey, Angela, do you need, I think we'll still take you. Yeah, I was stuck up there, they had to throw my house away. I was like,
Oh, yeah.
I know, I was up in Iowa and I was like, I couldn't, well, it's